Hello, welcome everybody. Great to see you here. We are about to go live for Astro Monday and hear from Christopher Witecki. There's a lot going on in the heavens that are coordinating with the wild happenings that's going on right now. So my name is Ra of Earth, and I'm here on behalf of Human Garage, and we are about to go live to talk about astrology with Astro Monday. So guys, drop in the chat where you're coming from. Drop in the chat what you're sensing about the last week that happened, and then also what's going on with you so far this week. Like, what sort of energy are you feeling so far this week? For me, it's very transformative energy, and then also a little bit of new life force towards past projects is what I'm feeling. I'm not really sure what that means, but we'll hear from Chris. Let me just get him up here. Apprehensive. So ready for Jupiter and Cancer. Right, I think that Saturn is also moving into Pisces as well. Minneapolis, Milwaukee, world confuses me now. Yeah, there's a lot to there's a lot to consider. It's always been happening though, you know. It's always been happening like this. It's going to keep on happening like this. Everything is in constant flux. It's really about how I relate to it, and having this information that we're going through on these lives allows us to be a little bit more aware of what's important. Last few weeks, it's been super important to be tuned into our heart. Our heart is connected to all things, to source, to the energy field, to God. Hello, hello.
Hey, buddy, how's it going? I'm playing with wireless technology, now working. How you doing, man?
Good, good. Yeah, everything's wonderful. I forgot to turn on my light.
Is it wonderful?
Yeah, well, it's so for me, I'm feeling renewed energy on current projects. So I feel
Okay.
a little bit more focused there. Obviously,
Hmm.
when I look outward into the world, I see turmoil.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Hmm.
and personally, that doesn't really impact me so much. I know it's always been happening throughout all of history.
Yep.
Um, so there is a question of, am I ignoring what needs focus? You know, when I see people being run over by cars in the streets and bombs dropping in other countries. So I'm a little confused on how I should be relating to that. Um, and then also transformation energy, like lots of transformation energy, like big moves uh, feel like they're on the horizon.
Okay. Can you go into more of that?
The big moves?
Yeah, like how to what scale? Are we
To
talking about
like, well, yeah, without,
revealing?
yeah, because
Keep
there are
your
things
privacy.
that are personal, but like the
Yeah,
life
keep your privacy.
is
Mhm.
changing, like completely, completely.
Yes.
And
Okay.
so
That's
far,
complete.
two different ways that are like basically the biggest way that life could change, and two different aspects of my life is like on the table right now.
Okay. Yeah. Then you're right where you're supposed to be. That is that is it. We've reached the point of, um, well, we're in Gemini. Let's take it back up a little bit. What's ultimately happening here is I'm using now the analogy of software because it's so good. We run this software, which is our abilities, what we do, who we are. That's Gemini. That's the energy of how you process information, what's information is important, what do you take in for that consideration, what's your attitude about it going in. And so with Jupiter and Gemini for a full year, we have had we've given the keys to completely reboot everything, the way we process all information, right before the next big wave of the information age. Because the next information age involves AI, incredible amounts of intelligence going in, incredible amounts of time and energy that we spent in the past that we put into the present. So, from an analytical perspective, everyone has got more data now and should be able to handle more data. Okay, that's first and foremost. That's the setup for this change, really, is Jupiter. So, when that happens, Jupiter in Gemini, which has been in Gemini, It's been expanding the pipelines of how much information the mind can process. In that also is like getting rid of the bad processes, the loops, the viruses, the things that basically just get in the way and slow down our productivity and whatnot. So here we are, okay, at the very top of this energy, ready to graduate and say, okay, this is my thought work process. I'm going to adopt this human operating system. I'm going to adopt a human operating system where I am doing this is what is important for me as a human and the information I need to process and consider. Now that said, we are aiming for what does that need to be? Well, in a sense, it needs to be probably something when you haven't been doing it all. Most likely at this stage, if you just reinvented the wheel, then you haven't even started your great work. We just reinvented the wheel. And the reason why it's reinvented, I'll say this, and that's a bold statement.
Reinvented.
What's that?
Are you saying we invented or reinvented?
Reinvented.
Thought that
What
was
I'm saying
another
is
play
like,
on words. We invented.
yeah, reinvented. I might have some stuff out. The point is that
We with the W.
we invented, well, we invented, ultimately it's about you. It's
Okay.
not even about we in that context in the sense of, you'll find when you do the math, it was we. But this is your operating system, the way your mind thinks or doesn't think, and whether your mind sets you up for success or not success. Your mind will, because it's set 5, will betray and keep things from ever happening. And that's the programming of radio and television, and that is the programming of movies and the programming of certain. There's programming in there to keep your mind at a certain level. It keeps your whole life at that same level. Because the mind can come in and just put a cloudy over the sky. And once the mind's thinking that way, everything sucks. And then it's not long before the hero self-sabotages the journey. Right?
Yeah. Can we? So, because I actually
Probably the
do,
best
I do
timing. Right.
feel. I mentioned earlier, like an ability to focus more and like drive energy into some projects that are important, but I just haven't been able to focus on. And then you kind of just said that in words that is actually what is happening. I think it had something to do with Jupiter. But the question I have is, you said like reinventing a new wheel. Like,
Yes.
so ideally we're starting something completely new, or
Well, let's put it this way. I
picking up
mean,
some
I don't want to be dramatic, and this is live, so I haven't processed the information myself really well. But, it's basically like we've been like chomping at the bits with the information we uphold on ourselves, and we were just in the same year with all of our mind clearing and reset of the mind. So Jupiter's a reboot of the mind with a new operating system, right? What will the mind pay attention to, and what will mind not pay attention to? Because that question alone, should I or should I spend my time thinking about this, is really probably the biggest. That is the screen time they don't want to tell you about. Screen time, the device tells you how much you've been think time. Think time. If your think time has been way high, you've done shit today. Thinking does nothing but do step 5. That's it. So people live in step 5, step 5. There's always in their thinking. It's like, to what end? None, no end. That's the thing. If you keep thinking about how you are, am I healthy? Am I not? Am I healthy? Am I not? Does he love me or not? Does he love me or not? Like, that is Gemini. If you stay in that like back and forth, it could be this, it could be that. That in itself is a waste of time. If you don't have in your hands right there, what does the heart want? What do you feel about it? If your mind doesn't know what the heart wants and what you feel about it, you have no idea if that thought has any value or quality or anything. If that thought is not backed up by the heart and your emotions, it's trash. The idea is trash. Trash. This is
that sounds like a new definition of anxiety and depression. You
new
just
cause. I mean, the cause of anxiety and depression is that you're getting nowhere, for one. And you're not, no part of you is monitoring your feelings. Anxiety comes from people mostly who don't monitor their feelings, and then their minds just push the whole thing on overdrive. And no one was policing the being for feeling. If your computer is like raising the temperature of your office to 110, it's going too fast. And that's the thing. Our minds go really fast, and they get us sick. And you take us to places of obsession and addiction and calming pills and all this stuff because no one is nurturing you and feeling you, and you're feeling your temperature and checking your emotional temperature along the way. If you're concerned about feeling good, which is step 2, you got to feel good before step 5 you even think. If you don't feel good, there's no reason to think, because all the energy coming to the mind is already depressed, upset, whatever, all those feelings. Those feelings then come to the mind, and then the mind's supposed to do something with that. Something it
right.
doesn't know how to do, which is nurture feelings. They know how to nurture feelings. Mine doesn't have any movement. Like, what is it gonna do? There. You know, like they're little one. Like you can say words and stuff, but it doesn't make me feel better what the mind says. People are like, I know this might make you feel better, but it's like, well, don't say it then. If it's
Oh,
not
hey.
you, right? It's that kind of thing, but to
So
yourself.
yeah, so if people are feeling like I'm angry. Like you said, that's just the mind recognizing a feeling. So then what's the answer? Like how do we resolve that feeling?
You go back to the 2-year-old in you, which is step two, and step two is the 2-year-old in you. And I base, the 11 steps to the inner child. I mean, those first steps, those are inner child steps. Age 0, age 1, age 2, age 3. We talk about them as, these wizarding steps, which they are, because as a child you were the enchanter. You had the magic then and you taught yourself out of it, and life did too. It's those core steps. So, hey, should we go here or should we go there? Raw. And the 2-year-old is like the sun's in his eyes, and this is too hot in here. Like the basis of us is like the base temperament and temperature is completely unmonitored by humans. We ignore that and expect it to be automatic. Like it's supposed to be automatic. It's like my body grows it back, right? Like just like a body closes the wound, like my emotions just heal. No. Tell that 2-year-old, like, hey, have your emotion, tell the terrible 2-year-old, it'll eventually get better. Quit whining. That's what my parents said. It'll
Yeah.
eventually, right? Quit whining. And so I was told, hey, when those feelings come up, that's not a signal from your soul. That's some annoying thing like a fart that humans just have to get over. I mean, like the approach to feelings altogether was not a waste of time, and you're a baby and you're indulgent. And so all of our coping skills are not to where Jupiter and Cancer is going. So this is all relevant in this conversation. Jupiter's about to go to Cancer, just got out of Gemini. And so we are stuck in certain emotional ruts. And they sort of like, an emotional rut is funny because it keeps you company, believe it or not, keeps you company. That rut, that feeling of, oh, one day. There's a weird thing about staying in that feeling. It keeps us company. A lot of us become emotionally addicted to these emotional cycles that we go through because it's just the way life keeps going. It's by the cycle. And so here it is again. And it just makes us feel comforted because although it's, the bad guy coming over, he comes over always at 4, and so I can rely, so we have a weird inside out emotional commitments or attachments to things that are unhealthy for us because we don't realize that we can actually create things that are healthy for us. It has nothing to do with what we put in our body. Because when I talk about these steps from 0 to 9, it's all inside you 100%. There's nothing to do in the outside world. Not a many, not a penny, nothing. It's about how you operate right now, quiet in yourself. And that's the part that humans are taking full control of right now. For the first time, full control of that. And then there'll be more control taking under later. But so today, okay, in your confusion, where we're at is the mind now has like unlimited freedom, basically to try anything. Your mind is open to these things, right? You talked about things coming out of the sky, opportunities you hadn't thought of outside the mind, and being open to it, like, but actually consider. Is that what you said?
Um, I was talking about the bombs coming out of the sky. um,
Bombs?
yeah, just the wars that are going on throughout the world.
Oh, that part. Okay, that's a different question.
Yeah, but we don't have to go there. Because
Yes.
this is more important because it has to do with ourself, which is what all of that is a reflection of. So you're saying right now, bitter and cancer, that it's stirring up emotions, which is exactly where we need to be processing that.
Okay, there are processes of waking up, and there are processes of realizing that you are a creator on Earth. So you are a creator on Earth. You're a co-creator on Earth. Right now, you being upset, if you're upset with what's being created, you're right. You're right. I agree with you. I agree with most of you, especially those who are coming at it from a heart and a feeling perspective. You'll find that I agree with you. Now, when you are looking at the big picture and doing nothing, you're not in your power to change it. No matter how much you don't like it, you can't actually start changing it until you get in your power. You obviously feel powerless. That's why you're so angry. You're angry because why am I powerless in this fucking thing? Why? And you're right. Why are you? Because
Right.
human beings were wired to be empowered, right? So yes, something's wrong. But what's wrong is not that. I mean, yes, that's wrong. But if we're gonna like play this out in logic, there's no way in hell you're saving the earth if you are not in your power. No way in hell. So it doesn't matter. It's not your battle time yet. This isn't your time on stage. If you can't do anything about it, not your time on stage yet. Well, then what am I supposed to do? Yes, exactly. What are you supposed to do? Because you're not on stage yet, you'll get called to stage. And if you're worried about it, you should be. It's your earth. You'll be called to stage. You will. There'll be a moment where you can make a difference. Are you ready for that moment? Are you ready? Do you know what you're going to say in that moment? You can make a difference? No. So you're wasting time if you want to just keep complaining about, oh my God, it's like the steamroller's coming. The steamroller's coming. Yes, the steamroller's
Yeah.
coming. It will flatten you, but it's moving really slow. The bureaucracy and everything, it moves really slow if you look at it. And your imagination is scaring you about the future, and you're taking what could happen in the worst case possibility of the future, and you're making it a threat today. No, no, that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. What you make today is what makes that future. So if you're living every day in the future where things could go wrong, you are actually creating things to go wrong. Because what you be is what's going to come. And so all day I was afraid watching CNN. All day I was afraid again watching CNN. I can guarantee you the next day coming up, another day of fear watching CNN. Why? Because what you be is what comes.
Yeah.
So it's not about agreeing or not agreeing. You don't need the world to agree with you to have full power to create your life. You don't need anyone agreeing with you. You know?
Right. Yeah. So I like how you said that the stage thing. Like, if you're not called to stage now, then like we don't need more finger pointers. Work on yourself until you're called to stage.
Yeah, I mean, you clearly don't know how the game works because it's like, it's time for a word from our sponsor, and you're trying to do like a wave. Like everyone's going bathroom, man. What are you doing? Want to wave now? Everyone's in the fucking bathroom. Like, what are you doing? There are people who want to do a wave, and it's like, this isn't where we should do a wave. And these people are waking up to like, in many cases, people who are just shouting out mad are coming from past lives where they were enslaved. They were slaves, and they literally had no rights. And now they're really, if you know their story, them crying out right now against Trump is a big deal in their world because they finally will call out the dictator. They finally have the courage to go, that motherfucker, nah. And they hadn't had that privilege before, so they have to be able to do that. And we have to not care. I mean, I think part of the age of Aquarius is everyone's got their thing. And a greater thing he has to
Right.
understand is like, y'all, we're all got our thing. And I'm really using the video game reference now because it is so accurate. Right now, you are asleep playing a video game. You need to know that you're playing this video game, and it's a real player game, and unless you get out of the game and realize that's not real, what's real is that you can make the scene load. You can change. You have user options. You have settings. You have settings to different things in reality. You have this control. I'm telling you, and I have nothing to gain because I can't make yours work, and you can't make mine work. So I have nothing to gain. But I can tell you, if you're happy, the gain for me is like, oh, sweet. I'm surrounded by happy players. Fuck, I was getting sick of this. Ones who are so grouchy. Like because I do think it's a game. I'm now concerned. I mean, that's been my mind blow, by the way, just to share. For me, the mind blow is like, oh my God, like I thought it was this, or I was framing it this way. We're talking about my life's work, like I'm framing it this way. I'm getting up here finally. It's like, it ain't that way at all, and it's this, and oh my God. And the perspective is, what changes, which is what the mind is. I'm going to take a new point of view, a point of view. I'm going to look at this from this direction. That's what we're going to devote to in the next few days. We're at step 25 today, where you pray, what's the direction I devote my mind? Now, how does that serve you when you say something like that? It serves you in the sense of every time your mind doesn't know, it's like, well, what's the directive? You committed to something. What'd you commit to? The mind needs a goal. Like, shut up, quit gossiping. We committed to this, to yourself, getting boundaries around your mind. A lot of people are lost to their mind, and they're going around looking for the answer, but the answer is what you feel in your heart. So if you have four choices, it's this mundane. You got choice A, how's your heart feel? Choice B, how's your heart feel? Choice C, how's your heart feel? Choice D, how's your heart feel? Okay?
Right.
Which, and you go to your inner child, hey, little Chrissy, what do you like feeling love the most? Which one? Number three. Your inner child will know immediately. Number three. And it's like, well, three will cost $1 billion. The problem is the mind comes in, like, Your Majesty, that means we're going to pay, so your mind comes in and just starts
Yeah.
negating the heart.
Right.
It should be this, and you were told that. Remember in kindergarten, they called you this, so it's like your mind just like bringing all the shit. It's like, whoa, dude, ain't your fucking time yet. Get out of this room. None. Like if you think about it, and it sounds so maybe overly simple, which is how the human operating system works. The human operating system is very, very simple. So you can be an idiot and not crash. It's brilliant.
Right. Yeah.
And so,
Keeps you safe.
to put it down on like a Monday, there's a lot of women watching. And I'm going to use a very mundane monkey male version. The monkey male version is, truth is that this is what people complain about. I'm not saying anything about this, but the man will sit there and look at her sexually, and he'll look at her sexually, all these different women sexually, and he'll choose sexually what he wants. That's what he does. Or I was like, man, they're always so low vibration. Yes, but what is happening and working is they're following their feelings in their heart in that moment, although it may be crude, in your opinion, all that sort of thing. It's still more human than anything else. For the mind to choose, like, which one's going to make the better herder? Which one will make a better mother? Like, shut up. If I'm not connected to the heart and feelings, like, wow, I just like that. And I'd argue that man who is quote barbaric or whatever that they're calling, whatever they would call it, lowride or that part of him is the truth. Is like he's keeping his options at a very mundane level. Like as far as how well she feels, it goes beyond that moment. It's like how your heart feels about this with her, and how your heart feels about that with her. So there's a little bandwidth, not in like a moral thing. They're just looking at like some of the basics, and there's a lot of data they haven't looked at. So I see all problems on the earth with people is that they have as much awareness as you or not. And so that's the case. Like, what do you have as little dashboard things on your dashboard in your car? You have like a little bouncing Jesus. I've seen it. No kidding. But everyone's got their bobs that bob back and forth. Why would we need to not waste time, yelling at a person based on the choices they made when they got the car? Like, so what?
Yeah.
You
I like
know?
what you said that you gave a reason though why there's people screaming and yelling at each other. In past lives, this is their way of expressing that same energy. And so that makes a lot of sense to me of how there's so many people that are attracted to certain ways of handling the current situation on this earth. And then there's other people who feel massively disconnected from that and are creating other things with their energy. It does give
Yes.
a reasoning that makes sense to me. Um,
What has to happen is we have to allow for all of it. If you believe only one way is right, then you will eventually be excluded. You'll be the way. It was wrong. If you make one way to be right, that means one day every person on earth is wrong. Only one of us got it right. If that's the principle underneath all of like only one is right. That's not how God made it. The truth is like if you have cameras in your house, you have 4 cameras, which of them is right?
yeah.
Perspective is a way of looking at it. That's all it is. And that's all the creation we have. So when we incarnate as a human, what we plant beforehand is the way of looking at things. We're going to say, I want to start looking at things from this perspective. It's almost like a director in a film. Let's put the first camera here, underneath the table. Let's look at what they're doing under the table. That's interesting. Some are holding hands, some are doing this. That's interesting. What's happening under the table? Everyone chooses a direction they want to look at the information, and if you're lucky, you have another direction as a past life personality. You got one other view, and you got another camera. It's your solar eclipse, your prenatal solar eclipse. That camera you can also put on something, which is a version of you watching it. So again, we're in a role player game up in heaven, and I've just told you 2 views. When people have beliefs about Catholic or whatever, that's just the camera view. That's
Hmm.
always like, my view is that it's good in hell. If you don't do this, you're going to do that. And this is going to happen this. And you'll die and go to hell. He was reborn for your sins. That's my perspective. Okay, that's your perspective. You're going to take the entire world and filter by that and do it. That's fun. What happens is like when you have everything choice in heaven, the company of heaven, you can choose anything in the ride, you start getting a little twisted and shit and start adding interesting flavors. And we're like, oh, he's bad. No, he's put on the upgrade pack of villain as a teen that was recovered. That subplot. Oh, he included the villain as a teen module, huh? All right, like I should try that. It's a lifetime. It's that I believe fully that I'm making it more camping than it is. But in essence, that I feel is the new spiritual perspective. So my point of view that's changed has been like how I talk about the construction of heaven and earth and coming out of all these heavy religions and seeing where the players are on earth. They've all been playing these belief structures that are not coming to any fulfillment. We know that these belief structures are fun and but not even fun, but fun since you get really real in life because you get some real dark shadows and light lights. But I'm at a point now where I'm choosing code, first of all, that includes my relationship to myself in heaven. Like, if I'm doing this, shouldn't I get a note up to me? Like, but well, this is me? Well, fuck, what are you doing? Once there's like a realization, I feel that, now my point of view is going, oh, prayer was a tool to log into our higher self. Like, We are praying into our higher self. That's who we're praying to, the one running the game.
Yeah, I have a friend who's a third generation exorcist. Like they
Oh,
get his
wow.
grandpa, his father, they get flown all over the world to like
Huh.
exercise like hospitals and
Right.
so like real stuff. But he explained it exactly the same way. He said if you have a cell or something in your body, an organ that's hurting, it sends a signal up to the grander organism, which is us, and we perceive it as pain. And when we
Right.
feel that pain, we do something about it.
Yeah.
And he said that prayer works the exact same way, that we can send that same signal to our higher functioning entity, whatever that is, and then that's our way of communication.
Yes, I think that's our prayer. I realized that. So I do know. I was confused. Go 3 chapters there. When I was, thinking about where is the step system coming from, because it was coming from somewhere, and I was trying to dissect. Now, when it first started coming, I don't know where it came from. It was like a voice popped in the room, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like when it first came, and it was just presented as a very knowing that for some reason a part of me had no problem speaking for it. Well, Chris, we're doing this. I'm like, wait, who gave me permission to play the character? Like it was a moment where I was sort of taken over by myself. And I feel that's what it is. That's my higher self reaching into the avatar and going, okay, it's time to move this whole thing a little higher now in the game. It's time to bring it up to the game. And I do believe that our higher self is monitoring, but most of it is asleep. It's, in the sense that we're up there meditated so that we can put all of our conscious focus on this life and really enjoy the ride, get in the ride. So, you're in this arcade or whatever, and you're put to sleep energetically, and you're left to be at peace there, right? So that you can really focus on what you're doing in this simulation. Now, time to time while you're there sleeping, your mom will walk over, the dead mom. Hey, honey, I know you're in the ride, but I just want to tell you that your father called. And, it's like, so no, it's like, I dream of my mom. It's like, I think they literally stop by. I think they literally talk to us while we're asleep. I think we're groggy. They can't get much into us. That's what I feel it is now. I'm starting to feel completely different about the nature of life, death, and what's happening. And so for me, anyways, I'm sharing my point of view and what I'm going to teach now because I think it's a better approach to helping people understand their powers instead of this hokey way of putting at it, which was basically creating fairy tales for people up until now. And through fairy tales and symbolism, i.e., gods and goddesses and all these things, these fairy tales, well, yes, it left the human to imagine in that structure, that operating system. Fairy tales are really cool. They represent full arms of consciousness. You can pull and stop and start and all these things. It was like a person who represented these different walls and things, all these button choices you have in reality in the game. So these characters, these cartoons would say these are your options, and this force of God does this, and this force of God does that, and in ways that they would relate to, which is like he will sleep with your wife and then he will kill you. And I can relate to that. Okay, this is a God I can believe in.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier that you have this, that you're looking at it from the perspective of your higher self. Uh,
Yes.
could you elaborate? Because you said that really quickly, and
Okay, I'm sorry.
like,
I'm
how do
learning to
you?
talk too fast. Everyone's telling me that today.
You
Um,
are talking. Oh, you're talking.
I am.
I would say 1.7 the speed. It feels like I selected 1.7 on Audible today with you.
Yeah, really.
So, um,
Huh.
but
That's interesting.
yeah,
I
how
like that one
that
percent.
is. You're normally not this
Well,
fast.
it's
You're really
well. First
fast
of
today.
all, just I have had the roof blown in my life in the last few days. Like my paradigm shift is like let all the cats out of the bag. Like for me, these are like lifelong things that have held me back. And so the first thing that happens, my kid gets so excited. He's so excited by your child that this is the moment because like, oh my god, oh my god, that's my 7-year-old inside myself. Oh my god, like when you say oh my god from a child, that's step seven. So I'm at that place because I had gotten so carried off my own creativity, carried off along all these different horror films that I thought my life could have been, and I've just been spent like just the last 20 years, fighting horror films I didn't know I was directing. So it's like it's such a moment of spiritual drunkenness, you know, and the energy is really starting to pick up too. So I'm very, if I don't ground myself and sit there and stare at the window for like a half hour about that and go to an interview, like my energy is like unrealized, unspoken. So I can just my energy can bounce off the walls when I don't have enough time to ground all the information, which means to have put a place for that. So it's like imagine God shows up like Santa Claus. Okay, there's this coming, ding dong, ding. So the stuff has no place to go. I'm like, well, like there's a car here. This is $2. I don't know what's happening. Like try to pull it together. What it comes down to, and this is 1920, the step of 1920. anywhere. Is like you have to go from inventorying all the pieces to like going, okay, emotionally, what is this all the theme of? What is this emotional theme? What is the emotional theme? What is this emotional moment? Because the emotional moment will have thousands of details and all sorts of characters and lots of things to do. So when we're handling this upgrade to higher consciousness, you end up moving from very in your fingers into all the details to just like smooth, like riding like a smooth glider through the matrix, if you want to call it. You sort of glide through life and not get stopped up on any detail. So that's another thing I would say to these people who are protesting. Okay, well, the thing about protest is like, and actually it's a protest, it's a professional test, a protest. Professionals are testing the water, professionals are testing the water, see, what is this? I'm just going to walk down the street with these signs. Let's see what happens. It's a professional test. Media goes, it's a protest. You know, oh, people will be burning down things any minute now. Like they're encouraging us. I mean, keep that in mind. If you were somewhere like and you started in a fight with your wife, and someone came and goes like, "Yeah, tell the bitch."
Yeah.
That's what happens in the media. They're like, "Yeah, tell the bitch. You're gonna get a fight. You can't tell this. You can't do that." You can see them being wound up. It's like, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. And then you go there. It's like, yeah, one block got angry, but then when you go to see the footage of the long footage of the one blocks, I'm sorry, it looks like a bad improv game.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it does look a lot of times, but we're not here there. The point is going back to your original question is that this is the moment your mind must decide what path are you on. And when I say what path are you on, what human operating system are you going to use? Are you going to use the system you're using now, which basically says you'll know what they tell you, and only that. So you only know what they tell you exists when the authorities tell you this and the authorities tell you that. From that operating system, you only operate from information that comes from them, and no information comes from anywhere else because those things are crazy. Information comes from somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's the mindset that's the subscription. That's what's in that game. In that game, no matter what you feel in that game. Now, what you don't realize is, well, there must be the way. And the answer is, it's whatever you choose. If you think it's all mind games, it is all mind games. In my world, my intuition can usurp any mind game. I feel they're about to play one. I feel it coming. So I'm not at all alarmed by a mind game. I'm actually playing a game with myself, guessing what it might be. Right? Like, so I'm in a different space. That all comes to the point of view you choose. And see, when the sun's in Gemini, the earth is in Sag. So we materialize a belief. We materialize a point of view. We materialize a belief structure. When you're renegotiating the mind, you're actually recreating the story, recreating the software, the thoughtware, subscribing to a whole belief structure. So you're even living in the world of Star Wars, or you're living in the world of, superheroes and Marvel. What world are you living in? That's what has to happen and be answered between now and the end of the week. What world are you living in?
Okay. And how we're related, like basically that's determined by us.
Yes, because even if I trap you in a backyard with four other students, you'll make it into that over time. You'll make it into that world. If it's the world of us against them, in your world, Timmy's being a little aggressive there. You're going to interpret what you see, even though we all see the same thing. You're going to interpret it as your world, and I'm going to interpret it as my world. And see, the reason why humans keep bonking heads is because we haven't come to an agreement of humans. It's okay, everyone can be in their own world.
Right. Yeah.
Why don't we?
I-
Why don't we say that everyone can be in their own world? What's holding us back? Because some asshole wants us all to be in his. Because the person at the top wants us all to be in theirs. We're not told that we can choose and we can pick one. Because if we had that power, we'd certainly not choose his world. And it is a his mostly, with some hers coming in, you know. But the point is, like, we have all. So, is it like the news said? Is it a riot? Remember, riot's also a laugh thing. A riot can be a good thing too. That's the irony. A riot. He was a riot. I enjoyed myself. It's crazy. Fucking riot that guy is. Did we just use the wrong tense? You
Yeah.
know. So, and that's the thing. See, we have these choices. We can take it as it was a riot or as a riot. That word says both. We both know it, and so that's how reality is. You always have those two choices, or three, or four, or five, of how you pronounce and what you mean by riot. And it literally is how you pronounce and how you mean that it all happens. It is the one you choose to take. Now, you may think, oh, I have to take this choice because my dad took this choice or my friends take this choice. And a lot of people are that. They're wimps. They're afraid of being different than their friends and family. Their mind's afraid of it. They can't do it. Right? Well, I say encourage your mind. Yes, you can do it. In fact, usually the people in your life who are fighting you, like your parents and whatnot, they're actually teaching you how it is you defend this part of you. They're actually teachers going, this is how you defend, point of view. And so you grow up under this overly controlling person. But little do you know, they were teaching you how those people do it. Therefore, you have the anecdote. Therefore, you never have to be ever controlled by another mind because you were raised by someone who was controlling you. And so you know how it works now from the inside out. So
Right.
even the way we frame like our childhood, is it that it ruined us or was it that it prepares us for the game?
Yeah, it gives us more perspective.
That perspective brings privileges and money and everything. I mean, that perspective brings everything. So if my perspective is they're out to get us, then everything in life will be out to get you because you are a creator in this magical world. What we need to call it something.
I mean, that's literally backed by Western science slash psychology. That
Thank you.
it's our programming. It's our programming that we view things all from a certain perspective because Daddy took away our dolls so that we can eat dinner, and the 5-year-old child girl in us that got their dolls taken away is now viewing all male figures from this standpoint of taking something before they give something good, and that all is really hard to um, unlatch from if you're relying on somebody else to do it for you. If you're relying on all the males in your life who remind you of your dad to change, then you're just stuck in this program. It all just comes down to you being able to shift your own psychological programming.
You're relying on them because they lied to you. They said it's up to them. They'll tell you what happens. They lied. You're creating the dream. It's actually what you think, and they can't even get it access into your dream up in heaven. They can't even access you there. They're just in the dream interacting with you, but they can't even do anything about it. The reality is, whatever your mind goes with will be the way the whole story goes with from this point forward.
I
And
mean,
by the way, at age 5, what she chose was the way she thinks about life. Age 5, I think. Age 6, I receive. So she just programmed until something comes along and suggests you can do something different. Her mind will always be, that's how it is. And she doesn't feel like she can step back and go, wait a second, do I have to think that's the way it is?
right.
Like she doesn't know she has an option that that's a button. Like you can actually in the control center in the settings set the character to be this. You can? Yeah. And so once you realize that, like, oh man, how big does this get?
And it's okay if you haven't realized it. Like this is like we're not defaultly programmed, at least in our society, to know that we can just change our settings.
No, we're told it was hidden from us.
Yeah,
It's more that it's like, no, they were mean, they lied, they covered it up.
right.
They, whoever they is, I don't know who they is, but they did. And those they're like, we don't let these out to the peasants. Only for the rich, cool people get this from now on. And it's been that way for a long time. And it's like, well, it's God's system. Who the fuck are you? Just one of you're just one of God's kids, just one, and you're telling me these rules for me, right? Like, so we allowed ourselves to be tricked and we went after a piece of candy that
Yeah,
someone offered us, and that's how it is. They offer us a piece of candy,
immediate gratification.
something we never tasted before. And because we never tasted it, we have no control over it. You know, it's like if you look at teeth, like people didn't have teeth right until sugar in the history of human. All those bones that we dig up, they have teeth. You notice that they have teeth. They all
No
have teeth. They all have great teeth too. You like any day they dig up a National Geographic teeth
jaw,
because
it's amazing.
they weren't eating sugar. Now you grew up someone's like they look like they've been decaying before we put them in the ground because we changed our eating habits. Once we had sugar, we couldn't stop, and so the dental industry is based on sugar. If there was no sugar, dentist, I don't know if I need you. Honestly, it's that like it went for centuries. And I bet you there's people who did have dental problems who were eating sugar. So the point is, this is a human choice. There aren't such things as cavities. Look at all this. We could have never had cavities. All this stuff. We just said to ourselves, "Hey guys, we can't eat sugars." It kind of, and if it burns your teeth, even though it tastes good, we can't fucking have this. I don't care how good
It
it tastes.
also
Eat pasta.
it burns your insides too. It
There you go.
puts adhesions in your arteries, and yeah, it's all sugar's the issue.
And the creators and distributors knew this. So this is my point. Is like this. Don't even think about conspiracy or whatever. Like the truth is, you didn't know you can change everything before you wake up in the morning. You have the superpowers in that dream right now. Just erase me or bring me in more. Anything your heart wants. It's like they say, what's it called? What kind of a dream is it when you take control of the dream?
Lucid,
Lucid. So it's time to create a lucid reality where you realize in this lucid reality, oh my God, I'm in control of this reality.
right?
Lucid reality. I'm going to write that down. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Like, it's time to go lucid. It's time for us to just like stand back and stop being pulled into it and be like, wait a second. I wonder if I can make this person pick his nose. Like you actually start there. You're like, if this is all
Yeah.
my dream, well then,
Those are the experiments we do. I wonder if I can manifest or create a front row parking space.
Yes,
Like,
I mean that was an easy spell. And these are spells, by the way. These are like kind of like an email you send the universe. I mean, you construct it according to the way it must be written, and it's written in the way that is like the way the universe works. So that's what the step system is. The step system is basically how you change all the settings in your character and the order in which they must be conscientiously followed to change it. If you follow these steps from 0 to 11, you'll tell consciousness precisely to the frequency rate what it is that you seek to attract by becoming that in yourself. You yourself are the remote control that sends out the signal. So you have to first, get yourself to be the signal, and then your heart goes whoa and says hello. Now, I knew even young if I put that wave out, in my mind, like when I was a kid, it was like a woman or a man at the shore, the seashore, waiting for something to come in. And the woman, like maybe the man comes back. The man, like who knows? Like you're waiting for something to come from the sea. And I knew as a child, if I just put that out there, maybe 10 years, maybe 20, it'll come. Like that message in a bottle will come. I always knew it. So I knew, like as a kid, that if I put a bottle in the ocean of consciousness, it will come. It always does. I just didn't know how to make it faster, and more focused. So really, myself, I've been fascinated with this. And what's cool is in this moment of our life, this comes back to this week's consciousness. What you're doing is you're launching the attitude, or you could say, writing the instruction manual of how things will go and not go. And then as soon as we go into, to Cancer, and so it is, it'll start changing right away. Matrix will start slowly changing right away. If you watch it,
okay, then that's happening now, right?
yes.
Jupiter in Cancer.
Well, no, Jupiter, yes, Jupiter's entering into Cancer, but today the sun's at step 25, Gemini. And so between now and Friday, we have to devote ourselves to a way of thinking.
A
And a
way
way
of
of thinking,
thinking.
what's that?
Thinking?
Yes, thinking only. It's Gemini.
Okay.
So the mind. Okay, so let's go back to our example. The riots, all this stuff. It's filling people's thoughts. People are living at home thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so the question really is, in relation to what you're bringing up, is which is going to change your life? If you think about something far away from you that you have no control over, that you didn't create or request, you don't like, you don't want to keep in your life, and so what ought you to think about? Like, where should I point my thinking if what I think about is not what makes me happy? And how do you know it's bad thoughts? If you feel bad, it's poisoning you. If you feel bad, it's poisoning you. And it is poisoning you. Your mind is constantly poisoning yourself because you're making yourself stay in this radiation. It's like you feel radiated by that. Okay, how long are you standing in it? Oh, all day? All day you're standing in that radiation? What you think is evil and dark is just sitting there and feeling it over and over again? Why? Why are you feeling the radiation over and over again? Like, why are you doing that? I don't understand. It feels bad, right? When you watch TV, it feels really bad. And you keep doing it? Like, it's very, very simple in the sense of if it feels bad, no. That's 2-year-old. This was 2-year-old. No, honey, because it feels bad, we say to 2-year-old. Feels bad, don't do it. Which is that basic. And somehow the mind is way taken over those instincts. And yeah, if it doesn't feel good, there's a problem, period. And that's how the mind needs to be managed now. That's my point. Like, so devotion, step 26. Step 26 Gemini, that is the algorithm, the step algorithm for devotion. Okay. It's a low res algorithm because it only has 2 states of awareness it's considering. So it's like rubbing 2 sticks. But 26 ultimately is first of all, I have to feel myself. I have to feel myself. I have to feel okay about my life first. I have to feel good. So if the feelings you bring to the day are toxic, there's no way you can choose non-toxic because it's a magnetation. It's magnetic. So you bring magnetic feelings of horror, things are bad, then everything in the future will be filtered through things are bad and things feel bad and right. That's part of the sentence you're giving the game of life that we're playing. In the game of life, you just said, okay, in the future, everything will feel bad and because you decide to be it at the time of calling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's why you can't sit around moping because you're just like moping there. It's like a 2-year-old without a diaper. You're just shitting all over your future because you emotionally keep bringing this sticky situation that you could ignore, just like you ignore your husband and you ignore other things. Don't tell me you don't know how to ignore people. You do. You could ignore it, like you ignore those kids. You could ignore it and just say, "Oh, I'm not going to pay attention to the poop." Now you're showing up at least, not stinky, right? So how you feel, and then step 6 is what my heart can open up to. Think of that 6 is laying man going, that's step 6, like So the number is like a groovy 6. If you can't sit back and just be like let it roll. If you don't feel so comfortable that what flows forward now is just going to be easy going, kind of like classic rock or yacht rock. It's something more like yacht rock. If it don't feel like yacht rock, where you're like in this, drinking champagne on a sailboat in Southern California, singing, with old, having fun, it's like the total like life is balanced and cool. Only in that state can you devote. What is going on in your house, man?
I'm trying to mute my dog's.
There's like a revolution.
Yeah,
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 it's okay. I
he's
thought it was funny.
applauding what you're saying. So just because
See,
you're mentioning numbers in the step system and one
yeah,
heart,
it's like,
two feeling, six opening up, five
mm-hmm,
thinking, um,
mm-hmm,
you're the creator of the step system. Is there somewhere that people, I don't think I've asked you this before, is
hmm.
there somewhere that people can find like the list of what the steps are and how they cycle through?
There is, but I don't want to waste their time on that just now. I mean, what I'll say is this: we have classes coming out that teach all
Okay,
this.
cool.
And I feel like the classes alone, just like, hey, what's this class about? Is they're almost up. They'll be up here the next day. They're going to tell you step system and whoops, why it's important. There's my earthquake. But we'll give you kind of an overhaul in that little summary. And then from that point, we're sort of, we are recommunicating who we are and what we do. Because as we've woken up ourselves, we're like, oh dear, I was taking the wrong perspective. So we're at the moment we're about to kind of sort of like reorganize our thoughts at Serious Joy. We have actually already reorganized them, but it's a production of actually making it out there. And then we'll have very easy, and then going on through the year, we'll have very easy ways to learn. But a quick little 0 through 12, you're not going to grasp it. There are free audios on Serious Joy's network on YouTube. So youtube.com/ Serious Joy TV, one string, Serious Joy TV. You'll find on there the 11 steps of Serious Joy. They're audios. I sit there and I lecture audio-wise on all of the steps, and that gives you a nice foundation. If you're craving to kind of like know something now so you can start hanging things up in your consciousness according to it, go ahead, go there, watch it there. It's also in our app when you sign up with us. And if you want to just learn the steps daily, come to Serious Joy. We have, we basically lecture on today's step. That's it. Today's step we lecture on in all these different ways. And our team all lectures on today's step. And yeah, it's one step a day, guys. You're only going to learn one step a day. So let go of the idea of two in one day. Like that's part of what this is. The mind just wants to keep gobbling forever. The rest of you is getting constipated with data and information because really the mind just needs to know what's the step
Okay, of the day.
where we are. And that step is that consciousness has this natural where consciousness is always forcing us to look at this, now look at this, now look at this, and look at this. And the step system is look at this, now look at this. That pattern is always the same every time, every year. It's just take two parts of you and put them together. Now, two other parts of you put them together. Then two parts of you put them together. And so the step system is like, hey, the universe is cycling through this. And that's what makes us change. What makes us change is you can sit there and do nothing. But when your number comes up, you'll be made aware you're doing nothing. And then we'll leave you again. You're doing nothing. And we'll leave you again. So it's like astrology is just that. It's like, hey, when's the flashlight going to make you realize, make you see the light about this? And it does it for that day, for that step. And then tomorrow's gone. We'll see it in a year. We'll see it in another rate, So astrology is just making you aware of certain things at certain times. But what's really fascinating is the symphony of a song. When it lights up a certain number of things at the same time, suddenly Geppetto's like, I'm alive. Sometimes it's the coordination, right? Seriously. The coordination of these different points at the same time is compelling, like having those all light up at once. People understood something they never understood. That's what's happening today. As we open our mind, we realize I wasn't an asshole. It was karma. I was feeling bad. No. It was not, like we have all these different perspectives of the big things in our life. We have these new perspectives. Well, with these new perspectives, that means the mind concludes something completely different this time because we didn't have this as evidence the last time we looked at this. And so that's profound change. Like in one moment, the person who was always Republican goes Democrat. But you're like, what, Grandma? How can you do that?
That's what I was saying. Like something just shifted today that could be a complete life change. Um, this morning, it just was
Which
like,
one? So with step 25 early in the day, be mindful of your feelings. The 5 goes back to the 2. So when you read it backwards, the step algorithm is how it relates to you. When you read the algorithm forward, is how you'll affect the world. So To me, being mindful of my feelings. Okay, you have these two directions. I would say to you, if I was you inside of you, I would say, okay, there's two directions here. Here's one thing that I never expected came along. Okay, what is? How do you feel about it? Be mindful of your feelings. What are the feelings? Take notes. Take notes. What are the feelings that come up with this? Now the other one. What are the feelings that come up with this? That's it. What are the feelings that come up? Okay, because the feelings reveal everything the mind cannot grasp. The feelings will feel past every thought.
Hmm.
There's not even no need to call it by thoughts
Yeah,
because if
beyond
you guys
words.
because if you choose something that doesn't feel good, well, shame on you, man. It's like that's such a global choice. I don't. This one doesn't feel as good. Then you have your answer. Now,
Right.
I will ask that feeling 3 times at least. I don't just go with a one feel. I'll ask really when things are humming, I'll ask my feelings every time I have a break. Well, now how do you feel about what he fucking said? Well, now how do you feel? Like what I check in over and over again, have a day's consensus, and then like 2 days later, I ask again. Well, now how do I feel? A lot of times it's changed.
Yeah, 3 times.
Yeah, a lot of times by the last one, it's changed. My feelings have changed. Why? I learned something else as an option. Suddenly now it's like, oh, I wasn't so emotionally consumed with it being this way. Once I found out there was this way. So the wise human, and hue is spelled, Hueman. We are human of many, many colors, multiple insane colors. That's what's so cool about us. We can be any color we want of the rainbow. We're human, right? We're not like one hue or monohuman, right? And so the point is like, as a human, what color do you want to experience? What feeling do you want? What color do you want to feel? That's what you're really making choices on. And when you are worried about the bad guy or the orange guy or whatever, it's because you're worried about how you're going to feel. You're not worried about what actually happens to those poor people if some people like fall under the attack right now of Trump, you don't care about them. You even think you're worried about a certain person, right? People are worried about a certain person. But if it happens to them, they're like, see, should have known, should have never gone with Trump. That's why, it's like, well, your way, you didn't help anyone feel better because it was a choice with feeling. So another feeling could be like, you know what? I don't feel that's part of me. I don't feel like I want to be part of that life. I'm just going to back away. That's not my thing. I don't like the way I feel in this area. Well, now you're not. Now you're not sending hate. Now you're not. Now you're focused on the person as the answer is you. My point is, when we choose what feels better, does it feel good to sit there and riot? How'd it feel? Feel good? Well, then you meant to do it. If it feels
Hmm.
good, you were meant to do that. You were meant to be there. Yes. If it doesn't feel good, you're not supposed to be on this ride right now in Disneyland. If it don't feel good, you're not supposed to be here. I think that's what people can't believe. It's all supposed to feel good all the time.
Right. All right, days of the week. So you
Okay.
started with today.
So I don't have all my plans here, but it's better we'll go conceptual in the sense of the steps. Keep it simple. Because all that other data is cool, but unnecessary. At the end of the day, we're at step 25 today. So today you have to be mindful of your feelings. What happens is when you're mindful of your feelings, net 7 opens up. Net 7 is there. And net 7 is actually your intuition. So if you are just mindful of your feelings any day, your intuition opens automatically from you being mindful of it. It takes about a second and it comes streaming down. So today our intuition is coming from us. Our intuition is our higher self, the part of us in heaven that has, signed up for this game and is right now in a meditation. And so we are tuning into our higher self, trying to remember why we made some of these choices and which choice now in the game is the correct choice. So the avatar is talking back to the gamer and saying, "Hey, is this right? This is what we wanted." Because at the end of the day, we created the whole story. The avatar doesn't know you can choose anything and it ends any way you want. The avatar is left in the dark, so it's exciting. So
Mhm.
we have to, the high resolution life is that you become one with the intention, which gives you ability to control the game in the game. So you go up, you ask today what feels right or what doesn't. If something doesn't feel right, that's your answer. And then the mind's like, well, what about, it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't feel right. It's over. It's on pause. That's my
Right.
rule. If there's a
So,
doubt, if there's any doubt, the answer is no. The answer is no. Now, there may be doubt because the mind keeps throwing in things to consider. But if your feelings doubt it, if you doubt it in your feelings, no, do not do it. If something doesn't feel right, no. The answer is no. That's
so
clean. There's nothing. So sometimes people know where's that boundary. If it doesn't feel right, if you're not going like this, like I said, going go, let's float there. It's wrong. It's either wrong or you're not ready. Wrong time, wrong choice. One of the two. So feel into that, and then tomorrow you feel into okay. Well, if today it's passed the test. Nothing feels wrong. Feels like I'm just floating in a garden on vacation. Just, well, if that's the feeling it gives you, it's absolutely where you're supposed to begin. Because you're beginning at peace and tranquility, which is how the Lord works. The universe works from peace and tranquility. And so if that direction you get a peace and tranquility message from, yes, that's where you go. You start all things from peace and tranquility.
Okay. So make sure that, well, not make sure, but you'll know you're
Feel
on the right track if you feel peace and tranquility.
no resistance. Nothing in you is fighting. Usually the right path is like someone laughs. They laugh when you say it because, okay, if it's even possible, but like they imagine it. And not only is it peaceful, it's so fucking good. They didn't want to go there. They don't make their hopes up, like because they get such a good signal from it. It's clear what's right and what's not right. So once you qualify, with a God background test, that yep, this is what the higher self wanted. Tomorrow, Tuesday is devotion. Okay, are you ready to get married to that? That's devotion. Are you ready to devote your everything your heart does? Are you ready to give everything your heart has? I mean, not really everything, but that's sort of what it feels like at the time. Will you give the future of your heart and creativity until you end it? So you should know that until not till death do you part, until one of you comes in and files a divorce. So, I will be there with you until we file a divorce. That's the truth. It is all till you divorce. It's not forever and ever. You can't make a promise that works forever and ever. You can't be in one video game, another video game. The promises pull on you because it's you who did it. But the game doesn't say you have to do that. That's bullshit. That's slavery. The idea that we'd be bonded to something forever. That was us being planted with some, very basic concept then turn into their liking. But the point is, yeah, basically it's like, can I devote my heart to it until the day I can't? Now, if you say you devote your heart, it means you do that. You show up with everything your heart has. Here's blankets and this and that, and I brought something in case it gets cold. Like when you devote with your heart, you're saying you're going to bring your whole self, your whole heart to this way of thinking. Now, this goes on to like we we're talking about with politics and whatnot. If you like are in the fight and you're angry and whatever, you haven't chosen the path of least resistance. You're not floating there in a lawn chair. You're not choosing based on your peace and your tranquility. Therefore, you will not have peace and tranquility if you make that choice. If you're not peaceful now when you make it, you are creating and deciding for more non-peace. Period. It doesn't matter how it comes. It's going to come in creative ways you never thought of. So we have to make emotional choices today. So I'm getting to. This is where the human race is asleep. If I were to just say it in the most basic sense, we are asleep because we are making choices without checking how we feel first. That's why we're fucked. Because we were angry when we made it. If you made it from anger, you just chose anger. If you made it from peace, you just chose peace. Whatever you make it from, that moment is in the ingredients of the next moment. What you be is what comes. And emotions are most important because you can't hide. Like think about it. Your partner says, "Yeah, I'm going to do that," and you're like, "Something doesn't feel right when she just said that." Right? Like something didn't feel right when he said that. Something didn't feel right. Yes, your feelings can feel lies, can feel deception, can feel everything. So if something doesn't feel right, something ain't right. It's not your imagination, right? We've been lied and we have these wrong operating systems. Our operating system is feelings are for girls and wimps and people who have sexuality problems and so we were like, okay, so when the feeling comes up, the mind's like, no, don't do that, don't listen to that. It's gonna make you crazy or whatever, you know. And so we were lied to and said, don't pay attention to that part of yourself. You can't trust it. And we're like, okay. A little 2-year-old's like, okay, daddy. And our sweetness and our love, like our little sweethearts, were like, okay, because we just want to make our parents happy. And so it's sad, really, the manipulation. If you think about it, the happiness is like, oh my God, the inner child's alive now. So this means that you devote. Okay, tomorrow you devote. Wednesday you take action and go forward. Thursday, you sit back and just hold it for all. Thursday, you're just like, this is going to happen. I can feel it. This is going to happen. I can feel it. This is going to happen. I can feel it. Happen. I can feel it. Happen. I can feel it. And that's what you're doing. You're emotionally putting an emotional, energetic realm around the entire project. Now the mama in you is going around the entire project, your emotional field. I can feel it will happen. I can feel it will happen. So you energetically create this bubble. It's going to happen. And then 29, Friday is, yeah, but what about this? And what about this? So like after you say it's going to happen, in come all these cannonballs of what about this? So the final test is always like, I know, but not for me. Like you can say it's gonna happen. So when you have incoming on Friday, it's like, but Trump just canceled the nation, so fuck. Like, or this just happened. Well, now, these big cannonballs come at you on the very last day, step 29 day. Now, Grandmasters operate at that moment. So that's when Gary comes in and goes, you know what we should believe? Like, who's this guy? Where'd he come from? He comes in and he sells the sales pitch 29. And maybe it's this, you know? You're like, what? If I look at it that way, right? And that's all this is conscious magic, where our consciousness is magically becoming real. And what we don't realize is we are imagining this world, it's happening, and then we're mad at we imagine. What? Who can imagine that? You imagine that? That's wrong imagining. What? Give me no wrong imagining. Just imagine something else. So humans are waking up to we are one. So there's a test of whatever you're thinking on Friday. And the test is, respond to your feelings and ask your feelings, what's the truth? So if you can ignore all the bombs going off and ignore all the noise and just turn to yourself, like if Yoda was in a battle as a Jedi, Yoda's a Jedi, he's in this battle, does he put his attention on all the people trying to fight him? Or does he put attention on how he feels inside if he's mastering the Force? He has to focus on the Force, him, the life force of him, to win that battle. Because he's actually creating the bad men and his master of creativity. So he has to calm himself down from the inside to tell himself to lay off with this. Because the reason why the dragons are coming is not because you thought of it, it's because you felt of it. And you're allowed to continue. Those are the power sticks of the new era. There'll be no joysticks. It'll be how you feel and how you manipulate your feelings that controls the ride. And so you start to realize that on Saturday. So Saturday is, awakening of Cancer. And so come Saturday, you're sort of assessing, well, how do I feel about all these thoughts I've had? How do I feel about all these thoughts? Do I feel I'm fucking crazy? So your emotions will audit your thoughts. Something feels off about that, what I was saying there at the party. Something feels off. Something feels off about what my husband said. And so we start to audit all these thoughts with our feelings. If it doesn't feel right, may just spend the mind going off there for a moment. Does that make
All
sense?
right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
So
5-day play-by-play. Yeah.
good. Beginning of the week is really find where we feel that satisfaction and that groove, and then we devote to it, and then it's eventually going to be
Tested.
challenged, and we pick it again. Make sure that we're feeling into it.
Whenever you pull out of the earth, she pulls you back in. Just make sure her kid isn't doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So when you're like about to jump, Laura's like, whoa, wait, kid. So that pulling, that what we call a test, 29, is really a safety mechanism to make sure you're not about to jump off the hill and do something you're not ready to do. If you don't know how to fly full time, it's just the first reason you learn how you can fly. You should be sabotaged. You should be shot down. You're not ready to fly yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think we have to reframe 29. It's literally a flight test of a new airplane. The 20 is like, okay, let's do a flight test. Oh my God, the whole thing was coming at me. Plane's not ready. Doesn't mean you're not going to have your dreams, kid. It means plane's not ready.
Right. You aren't fully committed.
To keeping at it till you figure it out,
Yeah.
which is a way of finessing your feelings to be okay about it. You can look at it this way. Here's another way to look at it. And the last one I'll give. If no matter what pisses you off in the world, I don't care what it is. Okay, I don't care who it is or whatever pisses you off. If you can find a way to make your feelings okay with it, you're in your power. If you can emotionally be okay with that happening, and a lot of times it's an idea. Well, I'll be okay with it if I knew that that's part of everyone's life. Okay, now that you know that, do you feel better? I do. There you go. It's fixed. Get out. It's like, well, don't I have to get permission or verification from someone else? No, you're in the video game, playing the game, and you want me to verify you just played the game right? No, play your game. I'll play mine. You don't need my opinion to play your game. In fact, it's getting in the way of your game. If you don't have anything, why bring me into the cockpit? Or anyone else? So it's like, I don't think humans do. They have that freedom. Just to say, you're all wrong, this is my game. Because then people are like, well, how are you going to keep chaos in order if you don't have official rules about what's the game and what's not? Because if you just sit back and watch, all the bees in the beehive find the queen again. All the birds find south. Like, we have shit built into us that just guides us there by magic. I mean,
Yeah, we don't need these rules and this authoritative permission from people to do things. That's all part of the code. It's part of the programming.
precisely. And you didn't even think about that. Who cares who did the program or anything? You realize you can have anything you want. You're still sitting here listening to me? What's wrong with you? You can have anything you want. You're still listening to me. It's like there's a lot of things that have to go into that. See, I've simplified it there. But if you are taking care of yourself on your in the first place, and someone offers you anything you want in the world, go for it. I would.
Yes. Yes to
So
that.
I hope that was simple, although profound, deep, because we're at that moment we are choosing some profound, deep things. This happens to be a hell of a corner the human race is taking. Yeah. And I'm there for you guys. As soon as I can get a good shot in, Jesus. Trying to be cool here. I got to find a nice, pretty shot. I'm a
Yeah.
happy party. So I
Well,
prefer.
that was amazing. Yeah.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
everybody can find their laying back in the lounge chair
Yes.
choices today. Um, I would even say it's a responsibility for us all to do that since we know that's
Yes.
going on.
You'll
Um,
help cool down the world. You'll help cool down the whole world if you just find the path that's easy. Usually, what you have to do is it means it's going to be farther out. So be like, well, the easy path means it won't be for 5 years. Fine. So I'm just saying, for the last thing was the easy path for most people I talk to is they want it faster. And so if they think about taking the long road, but they get it for sure, well, maybe that's the path.
okay, so
Okay,
it
right?
might not happen like this.
When this week you have to choose what the easy path is. You have to. Okay, like if you don't, it'll be chosen for you. It'll be chosen by what you are at that moment. School bus is not waiting for you, kid. We're going to school now, and that's the ascension. So that said, you've got to choose what is the easiest path, like what feels the best. And what I'm saying is most of the time when I talk to clients who are fighting, what they're fighting over inside is the hard path means it comes faster. The hard path is that it comes faster. Well, do you really need it tomorrow? If the easy path will take longer, do you really need it tomorrow? You really want to make your life hard because you put on a credit card? Really? You got it fast? Sure. But now your life's hard. So that's usually where I find people mess up in very sophisticated ways because most of our society is rather sophisticated at this point. So I'll leave you with that.
All right, and everybody who's been asking about the replay, it gets posted every Monday.
The replay. So we're talking about people who bought tickets. If you bought a ticket, the replay is going to be playing inside the Circle community in a second, in a couple minutes. So you guys are going to be the first ones to see it. It'll be in its entirety, and you skip around as much as you want. For the general public who's been wanting to see some things they just couldn't go to, that's still taking us a little time. And at first we felt like, oh, we should be rushing, but rushing it didn't feel good. And so we said, you know what? Despite what people want, it doesn't feel good to rush this. It doesn't feel good to change our lives to rush this. It feels like we should just like rush it at a certain pace. So that's really where we are because we have the introduction to step astrology, 2 classes that we're putting out for sale. The classes start July 8th. This is the only time that I will teach the class live is this first class. So this first class is the filming of the fundament of the step system. We have one version that is for personal. So there's introduction to step astrology for the personal, and there's introduction for step astrology for the professional. These are very different in some senses. They have overlap information about the basics, but to what end? Well, in the personal, it's to the end of you feeling good about yourself, you feeling good about your relationships in life, you feeling good about where your life is going. So personal is providing the individual who has home and family and wives and husband, right? That whole personal, we're going to help you guide that using the step system. If you are a professional, we're not going to talk about you very much, except as our own methods of how you use you in the equation. We're going to talk about how to be of support for a client and how to use the step system to support a client and not pollute yourself or vice versa. So it's a different discipline. It's more money too.
Okay, amazing. Those sound awesome, though. That was the answer to my question of where you learn more about the step system. So
Yes,
yes,
it
you have live
does.
classes happening July 8th.
Yes, and that'll be live on seriousjoy.academy, seriousjoy.academy. Both will be live probably within the next 24 hours, or go be on our mailing list and we'll send an email immediately when it's live. We're just making sure to not rush ourselves and make sure it feels right. So we're changing kind of how we roll things out. And so that's why it's been longer, guys, but hopefully knowing the system we preach, it'll be better.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks,
Well,
man.
thanks for being here, Chris. Everybody, we'll see you next week. The replay for this show will be tonight if you're just joining us late. And yeah, let's go make our choices from our heart this week.
And we'll see you next week when the sun's in Cancer. So it's going to be like, we'll be live in the pool. Maybe I'll be live in the pool
All right.
because that's what it is, Cancer is that big swimming pool. See you guys. Have a great weekend.
Well,
Ciao.
bye, everyone.